who was kind of presenting the sport and the news for the BBC, was going to go out on a world stage and reveal great secrets, would eventually be world famous. I'd face enormous opposition, but, quote, they would be there to protect me and all that stuff. And everything that I was told then, or almost everything, has happened or is happening, although it seemed, of course, strange at the time. But the reason I mention this is because what I was told that day was that, quote, they, whoever they are, would lead me to knowledge, and sometimes they would put knowledge in my mind, and sometimes they will lead me to knowledge. And there was another line: arduous seeking is not necessary. All you have to do is follow the clues. It was all mapped out a long time ago, basically. And so I started this sequence where a subject would come into my life, and suddenly that subject was everywhere. I'd meet people, and they would be knowledgeable about that subject, or I'd come across documents, I'd come across a book, I'd have a personal experience relating to that subject, and so on. And it was like getting pieces in a puzzle and then putting them together. And this has gone on for the last 20 years, got more and more powerful, and I'm so used now to the sequence because I've been through it enough times. So when I'm writing Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, I sat at the computer one morning, and the energy in the room changed, and I thought, here we go, I know this one. And I just, I had this very powerful thought form go through my mind, which said, in effect, the moon's not what you think it is. The moon's not real in the sense of you think it is. And I'm sitting there thinking the moon's not real in the sense I think it is. So, I don't dismiss these things because I've been through them enough times. So I type a few related words into Google or something and see what comes up. And immediately what came up was a book called Who Built the Moon by two researchers and writers who've written a number of other books. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. So I sent for it immediately, and as soon as it came, I read it from cover to cover straight away. And I thought, whoa, I see where this is leading. Because what these researchers had done was look at the fact that the moon can't be a natural body in the sense that we think it is. It's far too big. It's in a position in relation to the sun and the earth, which has certain effects, which, as they say in the book, the precision of where it has been placed is the precision of a Swiss watchmaker. And then they look at the mathematics and the geometry of the three spheres, Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, and they have incredible connections, just extraordinary. It's like, someone's just made it like that. And the key to connecting that trio is the moon. And then I started, okay, let's look at this some further. And again, normal sequence, all the stuff about the moon was coming into my life suddenly. And I realized, it's funny, when we're born, when we're born into the world, we tend to accept what's already here as the way things are. And this is why we are the generations now that need to bring this control system to an end, because the children being born today, to them, all this surveillance, control, and cameras and everything is going to be, well, that's the way it is. We, older generations alive today, still have some kind of perspective of how it was to how it is. So, and it was the same with the moon. You're born, well, that's the moon, dear. It comes up at night when you're a little kid, and it goes through this cycle of apparent size through the reflection of the sun. But you don't say, well, hold on a second, let's ask some questions about it. And when you do, it's like, I never knew that. They don't know where it came from. One of the things you find when you go along these areas of research that I do is that so much apparent scientific fact, yes, scientists say, and no, they don't. It's a theory. And they have no idea where the moon came from. They had no idea how it was formed. The anomalies in terms of the ages of the rocks, and the fact that there is material on the outside of the moon that is not known to occur in the natural world, etc., etc. And they claim it's a theory, that the moon was created by what they call the whack theory, or the big whack theory, whereby when the Earth was forming, a Mars-type planet came and smacked into the Earth. A great chunk broke away and became the moon. When the physics of that didn't work out, they came up with the double whack theory, or the double big whack theory, where the Mars planet hit the Earth and then came back and gave it another smack. It's like, the old 1-2. And they have no idea. And then you start to see what scientists say that don't get quoted in the mainstream media in all this, but they say very, very interesting things. Like I'm saying in the book that the moon is hollow, not hollow, from the surface all the way through, but it's hollow in some points. It's hollow, and the evidence when the moon has been struck by massive blows, and they've got seismometers up there to see what happens. It just rings like a bell, or rings like a gong, as NASA scientists say, and they can't explain why that is. As one scientist pointed out, given the Earth's magnetic field, there should possibly not be a satellite to the Earth. And if there was, it would maybe be very, very small, like 30 miles around or something. The moon is 2,160 miles in diameter. It's bigger than Pluto. Some scientists don't talk about an Earth-moon relationship, but a dual planetary relationship. And so I go into all these things in the book in great detail, and more has come along since. And it was funny because while I was sort of putting this together, NASA suddenly announced, we're going to bomb the moon. We're going to what? We're going to bomb the moon.
Yeah, what could go wrong with that?
I know. And then in August, I don't know whether you remember, it was in the mainstream media, NASA announced the moon was shrinking. They found these ridges all over it where the which are being caused by the moon shrinking. And it's just extraordinary, the anomalies, and they can't explain it. As one scientist said, the only thing you can say for certain about the moon is its observational error. It's not really there. And interestingly, Terran, I then called Credo Muchwa at this point, the Zulu shaman in South Africa, the library of African knowledge. And I didn't tell him what I was thinking or where I was going with this. I just said to him, Credo, can you tell me any African legends about the moon? And off he goes. He says, we say the moon is an egg. And the anthropologists, they say the moon's an egg. They're ever so primitive. But no, why do they say the moon's an egg? It's symbolism. They say the moon was hollowed out, that the yolk of the egg was taken out, rolled across the heavens by two reptilian entities, which are called Mpanku and Uani. And the story of them in Africa is a mirror, basically, of the story of Enlil and Enki, of the Anunnaki in the Sumerian tablets accounts that I'm sure you've covered at length at times in your program.
Yes.
And what you find is the same story using different names. And they say that when the moon came, and there are African tribes, as there are around the world, who say that their tribe goes back to a time before the moon came. And the Zulu and other African legends say that when the moon was rolled across the heavens to the earth by these entities, it closed in on the earth and caused great catastrophes. Then you look at all these ancient legends around the world, which relate to in effect, the biblical Great Flood. They talk about incredible volcanoes and earthquakes and an enormous tidal wave, the Great Flood. And what else do they say, invariably? During this cataclysmic period, the earth turned over. Now, the moon is at the angle, the earth is at the angle it is because of the moon. The earth is spinning at the speed it is because of the moon. The moon is like a control system of the earth. So when the moon moved in, even without what I call the moon matrix, that we'll get to, I'm sure, it has a tremendous impact on the earth to the point where it would have turned over. Because it's clear that it's not a simple